to make sure I say it right. Let's go back in here. And I'll put TEDx to be one of your TEDx, yeah.
Maybe TEDx speaker or something. Yeah.
I just put TEDx. People know when they see TEDx, they know what it's all about. So we're just going live on YouTube. We're live here. So we're just about to start another episode of What Gets You Fired Up. My name is Christian Vojna, and I'm the owner and the podcaster of What Gets You Fired Up. And also I am the one who has created Lead to Lead program, which is all about taking leadership and create that quantum leap on everybody's life. The reason for this podcast is actually to bring together people who have made, or they are just about to make a quantum leap in their life, personally and professionally, and they're here to share their knowledge to help others to take the leap to the next level. And today we have a very, very, very special guest. A guest which I'm gonna have to read because it's such a great experience, and I'm so grateful for having Dr. Sugi today. Dr. Sugi is actually a member of American Psychological Association. She is licensed psychotherapist, and she's originally from Sri Lanka. She's been licensed in New York and New Jersey. Big experience in counseling for the last 20 years and more than that. And the education Dr. Sugi has created from Sri Lanka, India, United Kingdom, and US have helped her to learn coping strategies and also leadership skills. So it's also great to hear that you're one of the TEDx talker, which is great. And I know you completed so many things in your journey. So Dr. Sugi, welcome to What Gets You Fired Up. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much, Christy, for this great opportunity. I'm so honored to know this beautiful soul. And let's share our experience, as you said, like what's fired up. I love the catchy phrase also. And let's share our knowledge, experience, and everything where people can benefit from it in our the weekend, and we contribute it for the world and the communities. Thank you.
Excellent. No, thank you. So, Dr. Sugi, tell me and tell the listeners most of it. Why is it so important to talk about mental health, and how is that working in coping with different things that are coming and they are going on right now? Mental health is something which is very important, and it's especially in the business world and the leadership. It's something with people don't realize that the mental health is more important than anything. So it would be great to hear from your experience why is that important, and how people can make sure that they take care of it and they maximize.
Sure. Thank you so much, Christy. It's a great question, especially nowadays, like mental health and people talking about in social media and everywhere you see it, mental health. I think it's just like a healthy body, healthy mind, and that's create a holistic you and healthy you, right? I don't believe, as all the research says, we can separate the mental health from physical health, right? We all know that, and I don't have to say. In my life, and I went through multiple situations, I felt like just give up on life. For example, my country I'm originally from Sri Lanka, as you said, 30 years of war, we are secondary victims. And one point we have tsunami. And when I'm growing up, Christy, I'm not shy away to share that experience. We are poor, right? And then poverty is one of the aspects we struggle. You talk about leadership and multiple aspects. And at that time, having the basic needs is a struggle. When I'm growing up, I didn't have even electricity. I went through emotionally, physically, you name it, like lots of trauma and stress. That is where I started when I grew up. At that time, I did not know, Christy. I was an athlete, not only education wise, and I did athletic events. When I'm running, yeah, I forgot the whole world. And that time, like I'm a long distance runner, I'm a hurdler. When I do those things, I just be in that moment. We always saying, right? Don't live with your past, live with the present. Without knowing, even a child, I think, sports as a coping mechanism. Nowadays, we all like focus our kids, they are all in the technologies and everything. Therefore, nobody has a time to show them the importance of sports and writing and all the other things. And where I grew up, it's a little long as I grew up, and we have the environment. We don't have shoes, right? We run wild with our friends, right? Mind is free. Nowadays, I come back and I lived in multiple countries, work in multiple countries in multiple positions. Today, I use walking as a therapy, right? And playing as a therapy. But those things are freely available in my countries when we grew up. That is my coping mechanisms. Otherwise, I would not become this Sugi at all. That's where, in a nutshell, being a human being and survive and be healthy in mind, I personally believe we all unique. We all coming from different cultures, but we have to identify what is the best coping strategy for us. Sorry, it took long and it's a long answer.
No, you're fine. Listen, that's the whole point of this the podcast, to make sure that my guests are expressing and bringing the value to the listeners. So that's great. But let me ask you a question, which I always ask the first one, but on this occasion I decided to use the second one as a question. So what gets you fired up? Why do you do what you do? Why are you involved in something which is, you have to learn those coping mechanisms? So for somebody to teach other people to have a great mental health is not easy. So tell us, what gets you fired up? Why are you doing what you're doing?
Yes, that's also a very interesting question. Thank you. Actually, I'll tell you a quick story. Like nowadays in my country, Sri Lankan media, it's going up and down. There was a university student who was in third year and by his fiance and cut her throat and killed, right? They were the girlfriend and boyfriend. And then later they figure it out, this boyfriend has diagnosed mental illness. And when the girl got to know about it, and it's like started saying, you're crazy, this individual cannot tolerate that, right? And it's kind of other words like a bullying. And in the society, in my culture, it's very rarely talk about mental illness. Therefore, it's the called stigma, right?
Yes.
That is where actually why I want to talk about it. When I'm growing up, you can see I have a dark skin, but I have a healthy skin, right? People call me many names, Christy, in my life, right? I cried lots of times, but one thing, I had my family support, and I grew up with a positive mindset, never give up attitude, right? It's called in resilience. You maybe saw my TEDx talks also about immigrants' resilience. Why I want to do it, there's a saying also, when we have thousands one reasons to give up, why I did not give up. And my second TEDx talk also about trauma. And in my culture, since the day we got married, when you're going to be a mom, when you're going to have a baby, I had 2 miscarriages. I was in school. I had multiple things to cope with it. Therefore, that is where I decided, no, I want to talk about my story. When people see all the left and right, all the letters behind our names and all these things, people like, oh my God, she is like that, right?
Okay.
It's not like you have to read in between lines sometimes. We all have hardships.
Of course.
Like sometimes even the language. I was not born in United States. My second language is English, but I was fortunate enough to have 4.0 GPA in my doctorate, 2 honor societies. All these things never came up easily, Christy.
Yeah.
I worked so hard. That's my message for everybody. When you're down, learn a lesson. Stop for a moment, breathe, and see. Maybe that's your turning point, right?
Yes.
And how to take it into the next level and be a good human being, be a good leader, empathize, understand other people. Like, I don't know, like for example, people say like, how to be a good leader. Like there's no formula in my eyes. Be a good human being. Understand the other people. Maybe
100%.
I go through many fears, maybe go through many struggles. If you give me 1 minute to have that bond, and maybe that is you see different person in life. That is where, Christy, I realized I want to share my story with others to empower, encourage, motivate other people.
That's awesome. Look, I really appreciate that. And I connect so much with your story because I'm coming from a poor country as well. So Romania is not, or not used to be where it is right now. So we are looking like have like a pair of shoes and wear that, and it's gonna until your toes are coming out, and fix it and look at how much bread you're gonna get and how you're gonna get the food. And so I think one of the reasons we, as people coming from different countries from like poor background, we have the tendency to want more, to make sure we get more and give more to other people. So that's one of the reasons I was so excited to have you on the call, because to see somebody coming from Sri Lanka is not a super healthy and wealthy country, and to come from there and be one of the TEDx talker, and not just that, but you've been volunteering for TED Translator. You won the TED woman in 2022, and you had so many. You delivered the 2 TEDx talks so far in immigrant resilience, and the one the past and rising. And you mentioned that earlier when you said, which I totally agree, people should stop thinking about the past and the future. It's more how the present is being seen and heard than anything else. So tell me, what made you feel inspired to go from where you were to where you are now? Because it's a big journey, and like you said, it involves so many things to keep yourself motivated and keep yourself happy to deliver you've been. So how did you overcome all these name callings and all the things that all the things that the hard things that life threw out in front of you to kind of stop you from your way to become who you are now?
Yeah, that's awesome and happy. Like, I truly appreciate you sharing part of your life story too, right? That's where we started identify people, right? Very beginning, we had just a chit chat. At that time, we understand like we have something to give back. And the question you asked, actually, what I did was, we all want first to stability, right? When you want, like in my culture, the most two important thing is family and education, right? I am the very first person in my the family and getting the doctorate, right? My family has a dream. I have a dream, right? What I did was, I always, as you said, as I said multiple times, I was knocked down by the community, my own people. and our culture, our community, and people who sometimes close to me, I thought they are my friends, right? All these areas, I was knocked down multiple times. Every single time, what I did was I always started expressing myself, right? And I just let it out. If I want to cry, I go there and cry, maybe like a solid good 5-10 minutes, maybe under the shower, right? I started writing things. Actually, I'm very good writer in my cultural language. I started write things down, right? And those things help me. But I think the most important thing, understanding who am I, right? I do not, in the beginning, I let other people to like, I am like a puppet, right? If somebody says something, why did you tell me? Like, I go home, tell my mom, and like, why? Then later I realized, I'm sorry to say, I don't give a damn about what other people say about me or think about me. I know who I am. Yes, I have a dark skin because I have a more melanin, right? And I cannot change it, Chris. That's who I am, right?
Yeah, but why
And
would you change who
there
you
are
are?
yes, there are multiple things I realized. This is me, right? What I can work with this me, understanding that fact. For example, I have a very supportive husband, and when I migrated to United States, we all know we have to change our degrees and all these things into here what is equal to, right? At that time, I did 3 jobs. I was one time I was working midnight shift. I was in one of the adult center, and I'm new there. What they did was, because it's my midnight shift, people asked me to clean the bathrooms because you are so feared in the beginning, lose the job, right? I was fine. At that time, Chris, I was not crying because I have that positive mindset. I know where I want to go, right? I saved money. I want to have that job. Then when I get it, I did like 3-4 jobs, like weekend. I do back-to-back shift, full-time working, full-time schooling, no loans, and paying everything, getting scholarships, finishing work. That's where I think people struggle. You have to understand, in front of all of us, there are a few buckets, right?
Yes.
Your family, your society, your culture. We all try to please all these buckets, and rather than like what makes me happy. When I'm saying, like, once in a while still I cry, once in a while I frustrate, I'm not a saint, like I'm not perfect. But now I am in a situation where I am able to overcome challenges because I know who Sugi is, where I am coming. I think that's my answer. When you know who you are, that will help us to be better. Makes sense to you?
Yes, it does. And to be honest, it's so good because, like you said yourself, you work 3 jobs and you've done so many things. And I at some point when I came to UK about 16 years ago, I was doing the same. I was doing 3 jobs. And I was studying for my degree as well at the same time. And people, even now after 16 years, I still have people asking me questions about how can you do so many things in the same time. And that's one of the reasons I created that the program, Lead to Leap, because you said it yourself so many times in different ways in your answer earlier. People are looking to be leaders, but instead of focusing on leading themselves, they focus on leading others. When actually, in fact, in order to be able to become a great leader, you have to learn the way to lead yourself in order to grow, in order to take that leap, the quantum leap, to move you to the next level. So you said it so well. You did it for yourself. You didn't care what other people
Yes.
said, and that's exactly what I've done myself. You know, it's so important to understand that the leadership comes when you learn how to lead yourself first. You're the example, and because people are going to follow you when they see that you're the true and a living demonstration of the things that you said you are, or you tell. You know, you went and did the TEDx talks, right? And imagine that you're talking about you know, the immigrant resilience, and in the background you're not even close to what you're preaching. People, they're going to see through that, maybe not immediately, but they will. So when it comes from your heart, which you speaking about, you know, and you can see that you don't need to think about it. It all comes from, you know, from you. It comes from you. It doesn't come from somewhere else. It just comes from something which is, you know, you believe in it. So that's why it's so important. And one of the things that I want to ask you, because we all talk about, you know, the great things that we do, but I want you, if can you share one thing that you said you consider it like your biggest failure, and what did you learn from it? How did that help you to make to bring you to the next level rather than stop when you failed on it?
Yeah, the biggest failure, I don't see it as a failure now. At that time, the given moment, it's a failure, right? What I see is now it's learning experience, right? What I saw was, you know, my real name is Sugandhika, right? 20
Yes.
some odd years. I'm used to listen to it, right? Even when you know animals, when you call their name, they turn their head, right? Just assuming I was used to listen to my name. And when you migrate to a different country, you totally lost your name, right? Your name is part of your identity, right?
Yes.
And some people started, what's your name? Like, oh, Lama Dama Ding Dong, right? And I was like, yeah. In the beginning, feel like your heart pounds goes woo, like, and then later it was like become Sugi, right?
Yes.
I had two options, right? I have the option to go there and every single time correct the people, like, oh no, you know, this is what my country, we give the name by the meaning and all these stories. Or just like there's a saying, right? When you go to the wedding for a bat, like, you know, the bat, and
Yes.
they are wedding, you have to dress up, and because you have to go in the nighttime, they are active at the nighttime, right? You have to adjust. Same way, I thought, no, let you all take my name. It is maybe the easy way to tell it, but you cannot take my identity, Chris,
Yes.
right?
100%.
And my identity is who I am, having this hair on, and all these, my mindset, my motivation, what I want to do in my life, where I want to go, all these goals, I never gave up, Chris. You can, therefore, I adjust, let the world take it my name, but not who I am. Therefore, internally, I am happy, right? What I say, what I do, how I do things. Like somebody asked, I think in 2023, what's your goal? I was like, I want to give back to the community where I am. I'm not saying I'm a $1 billion person, but I have enough money. I think when we are talking also, I told you I have enough money to survive.
Yes.
Now, I want to share that stories behind us, especially this COVID. We never know tomorrow. We have a tomorrow, right?
Yes.
And what we do, like how we do things, like I truly appreciate you are in United Kingdom, I am in United States, maybe different timelines. I truly appreciate you as well, Chris, you taking this time. You want to give back to the community, right? You can do something very important for you at this time. We are doing it based on through our experience and knowledge. We know what is the hardship. We know why something important to give up, give to the world something, right?
Yes.
And that's where I thought even join hands with you in our Sunday. We can watch some Netflix or something or have some good meal.
Or we can
have
do something better.
Yes, but we decided to do that. And that is where all this experience nowadays, I have many failures. In other words, at that time, today, all these things, like I use it as experience and I'm sharing with my son also. I'm saying, no, don't give up. Like some days he's saying, Mommy, I'm sneezing. Like, I have a stomach pain. I say, like, Warren, just if you physically you really feel like confident, you can go there, you don't have any fever, anything, just
Yes.
give your best shot. Sometimes there's a saying, it's like there's no motivation find us right in the
Yes.
morning. And I'm saying, Warren, find something to motivate you today and go to work. That's why my message, Christy, and my life lesson.
That's good. No, I really like that. And I like the way you said, especially about the name and the changes, because I myself, I have to go through this as well, because, my friends in Romania, they call me Christy. In here, I have to move. And even now, after 15 years, I can't, when somebody's calling me Christy, it just sounds weird right now because everybody calls me Christian or Chris, or nobody calls me Cristiano Christy, because Christy, if you think about like a female name, and all these things, and the way we have to adapt is, it's about, we as a leaders in our own life, we have to reinvent ourselves in order to become better, in order to adapt to the new environment, to make sure the people, they understand and they communicate with us better. Because you said yourself, if they can't say Sugandika, it's like they could be like, so what did you say there again? What's your name? And then you say something which is more like Sugi, it's oh, I can say that, it's easy. And it's the same with the way I had to go into that, changing. I'm like, people call me like, you're like a chameleon. You change so many things and you change yourself so many times, because we have to adapt. And when I go to US, and I go that quite often to see my friends and business partners in Miami and so on, and not just Miami but New York and New Jersey. One of my good friends, I told you, lives probably, who knows, maybe he's one of your neighbors, you never know.
Yes.
But
Visit us.
yeah, you adapt, and then you change where you're going. So that's why the leader and the educator, which we both are into different areas, makes a huge difference on how people, they find the motivation. And you said yourself, to your son, your husband, find your motivation, because people are always looking to find, oh, I'm going to buy a new car, or I'm going to buy new clothes. But if inside of you it's not the power, you cannot bring the power from outside. You can try to change it and kind of duplicate, but if it doesn't come from within, that fire, which one of the reason I call the podcast "What Gets You Fired Up" is because it's what comes from within is more important, and is more important for your mental health, like you said it. And you talk in your talks with TEDx about mental health. You talk about the trauma and how you heal yourself. So I want to ask you this question, which I think it works really well with the way we work now. What advice would you give to somebody who wishes to have a great mindset and be mentally healthy? Because when you start your own business, it's not easy, and we go up and down, and we need to keep ourselves sane before we can help others. So, what would be one advice would you say to somebody? Look, one of the main thing you have to do is this, and this is going to help you to move into the right direction and stay positive.
Yeah, I think that question I have to ask from you, because you are a very successful individual in the community. And but in my experience, actually, I was thinking a few minutes ago, Let me tell something. I was, when I'm growing up, and most youth in my life, you know why? Because where I'm, as I said, I'm coming from poverty. The only thing go education. I just want to be the first, be the best, make my family happy, right?
Yes.
And because what's happening, our mindset, we know education is the only thing. You have to go there and do it. Later down the line, I do not know. Still, I have characteristics of that, like a competitive, but I was stepped back so much in my life through my experience, and where I went through all these things. I became more into not be too much impulsive. That is, I think, when it become when you want to be successful or where you want to go. That is one thing I learned. Once in a while, I do those things. My husband always say, you need peace of mind. Like, they were joking about things, mental health, breathe. My son always saying, Mommy, you want to breathe. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, But
Yes.
the thing is, now, most of the situations, I step back, Chris. Like, just assume something happened, right? Just bigger things happen. Just assume a financial issue comes. I just step back. It's okay, Sugi. Like, okay, we are having a financial issue now. What we can do? I talk to my husband, realize, okay, he has a step, his own business, right? How you doing? Like, do we have previously? If I had that situation, I'm like, oh my God, whole world, now what's going to happen? Like, I was so like emotionally wrapped up, and I jump into decisions.
Yes.
One thing now I do, I say the people, it takes some time. I'm telling, it took so much time for me, because I know the deal. When the situation, boom, go there, make a decision, then later regret. The only thing, just breathe, step back, and see it's not going to be the end of the world. Tomorrow going to be there, not good if nothing happens physically. And we will find a solution. I always say, people say, like, I lost my job, but do you check, is there any jobs you can do till you get something you want? For example, when I'm cleaning the bathrooms, and I had in my mind, in few years I'm going to go where I want to go. Therefore, I was maybe wiping my tears, but I know that tears make me strong. I did not give up. I was like very slow, but very steady step took it. Therefore, your question, the short answer, do not make impulsive decisions. I know it's like a hard thing to do, as much as I said, learn some coping mechanism, find some good people you can talk before make the decision. That's where I think your inner peace and your mental peace comes, and I think it impact on long-term success.
That's great. Look, I love it. And you know why? Because I use the same kind of approach, but I use it, and I say it very in a short, very like a compressed everything you said. I say, don't be reactive, be responsive. So, like you said, step back a bit instead of just take that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, like your children are saying. Take that 2, 3 seconds to think before you do something. And you said yourself, stop being impulsive. And this is the great thing, because, when you respond to what happened, it's not your feeling, it's not your emotion who's coming with the answer. It's your head, your mind, which actually the analytical part, which says, is this true? Am I reacting the right way? And if I still think the same, when I'm thinking and analyzing, then you can go and have the same initial reaction. But it's so important to respond instead of reacted. So it was great that you put it in such an explicit way, but at the same time it just shows you why you're doing what you're doing and how you should do it better. But let me ask you a question before while we're wrapping up. I don't want to hold you the whole afternoon there. uh, what is your goal in life, and what is that you want to achieve or change by doing what you want to do right now?
Sure, that's awesome question. I have few goals like all the other human beings. Family wise, what I'm doing, like even my son Chris, there are certain things I learned through my life. I don't think he has to go through there to learn it in a hard way, right? I am like having a good conversation with him. Family wise, I make him a better human being. Like if there's a situation comes, like for example, he was bullied in the school, saying one when he was very little, saying because he's well-built man, because my husband's family all 6 footers, he's bigger
Okay.
than other students. Therefore, they said, "You talk like a grandpa, you act like a grandpa, you look like a grandpa." He came home and he said, like, "Mommy, I want to cry from my eyes. I didn't cry, but I cried from your heart." I said, "What do you mean, Warren?" And then we had a solid, good conversation. And I said, "Warren, listen, being a grandpa is not a bad thing." I turned the table, Chris, right? I have two options. I can be fired up and go to the school and have a big, huge thing, or I can change my son and in a way be a strong person, how to stand up by his own. I said, grandpa is a matured person. People go for advice. Today, he wrote a book about it, not yet published, but that is one thing I do. I want to change or share this experience with youth. Today, I am a chairwoman for VFW, Veterans for the Foreign Affairs. Why I am doing the youth is our future, right? We can share anything with them. I think that is one of my goals, to give back to them.
Awesome.
And individually, I know for me, I'm not a perfect person. There are multiple areas I can enhance myself, right? Talking to you that day when I talk in the beginning, I learned something from you. And then I was like, you are honest, like how you giving back to your community. Even I remember one time you had something happen to your hand or something, even you were like not giving up. "No, Sugi, let's do it," that kind of I'm learning from other people as much as I can personally, and try to not to hide my holes within Sugi. I don't want to show to the world Dr. Sugi is a perfect individual. And I want Dr. Sugi has a rough, not a rosy road. Learn from me. I want to leave that footmark if I close my eyes tomorrow. Those are my biggest two goals. Give it to the youth as much as, and improve myself as much as in myself. And those are the two things. I don't have bigger, like a huge goals. Those are my little goals in my dream world.
No, it sounds good. Listen, it might not be big in your mind, but the things that you do and the fact that you're helping so many people, and the talks, with the TEDx, and because they do all the research to help people in with mental health and trauma, and healing, and how they can deal with their behavior. I think this is something which is more people should do, because we, by doing this, is going to help us to do more. It's going to help us to do to help others with our actions. And I want to thank you again for joining me on what gets you fired up today, Dr. Sugi, because it is great to know. And just for the people that are tuning in now, for the listeners, when the people are looking and viewing this today on What Gets You Fired Up, we had the great guest. We had Dr. Sugi, who is a licensed psychotherapist. She is a public speaker with TEDx. And you're an international and national and international speaker and educator. We all educate through the things that we've been through. And I want to thank you again for coming today. And I'm super excited to see what comes next. And I hope next time when I'm going to visit the Big Apple, as they call it, we're going to be able to do this in person as well. I think it's going to be a great conversation. So is there anything you want to share before we wrap this up? And also, how the viewers and the listeners can reach you, because that'll be good. There are so many people out there, they need help from people like you and me. So it's always great to share those.
Sure. Thank you. First of all, I want to say a huge thank you. And what you do, giving back to the community and your beautiful soul. I'm so blessed to know you and giving back to our communities. If they want to reach out to me, I'm in LinkedIn. And I have my Facebook page, Facebook group, and I have 2 YouTube channels. One is purely I'm doing for my country, educate them, Dr. Sugi and mental health. And the other one, English one, recently started, Heal Your Soul with Dr. Sugi. And I have I think you put it in the chat, my website.
Yes.
And anyway, reach out to me. I'm not promising sun and moon, but definitely I will share what I can do and to empower at least one person, encourage one person to achieve their goals. And that is my humble and simple goal. Again, bottom of my heart, thank you, Christine, doing this wonderful podcast and inviting me. Thank you.
No, thank you. It's been a pleasure to have you on today, Dr. Sugi. And guys, if you really want to get more, I really recommend you to go and visit Dr. Sugi's website. It's drsugimentalhealth.com, and you can find Dr. Sugi on social media as well. Once again, thank you very much for being part of the podcast today. I want to thank you and thank also the viewers and the listeners for listening for another great episode of What Gets You Fired Up. It's all about bringing that value to the people and taking the lead to make that lead. And like I said, my program, it's all about the leadership. Take control of your life, moving to the next level, and having great people like yourself. It's always been a pleasure. So thank you again for your time, and I'm looking forward to speak to you soon.